Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. As always, thank you so much for being here and sharing your time with me. I really appreciate it. I am trying to get better at actually introducing myself at the beginning of these videos because at this point I do think most of the people that watch these videos don't actually know me, which is kind of a bizarre thing for me to think about, but I'm going to try and introduce myself moving forward. Hello, my name is Ale, which is short for Alejandra. I appreciate you sharing your time with me. Thank you. So today I just want to do a good old journal with me, I guess would be the most accurate way to describe that. And I just want to debrief on my weekend because it was loaded. And I think loaded is not descriptive enough. Lots happened. So let's get into it. Okay, so as always, this is my weekly plus memos page. Actually, before I start that, let's light my little candle. Probably should trim that wig, but I can't be bothered. Okay, now let's quickly go over this. This sticker is simply the coolest thing ever, and when we received it, I knew I kind of wanted to make the entire theme be based around this. This is an extremely belated Christmas gift for Michael, but I bought him a ring and it's made here on, I think, Vancouver Island, if not, anyway, in Canada. And it's so cool, and the brand is called Wholesome, and they gave us these stickers from the brand, and it's just so sick. So I knew I kind of wanted to adhere to like that like chromatic look on this page, maybe some gold, some silvers, but otherwise keep it pretty neutral with black and white. So that's kind of the standout sticker with that. And going with that, I have lots of things that I'm kind of wanting to play with for this week in this pocket here. The main one being that I took a photo of Michael's hand to show off the new ring, and I've it's already printed and pre-cut, and I want to put it here. I want to glue it here. I love the effect that gives the page. I kind of regret I had put this hand down and drawn this arrow, but I kind of regret how that arrow looks. I'm actually not a huge fan. I thought the effect was going to be different than what it turned out to be. So let's... Oh, I just realized my little clip is in here. Let's get rid of this because I don't like it. Okay. So we need our glue stick. Okay, while I glue this down, I can point out some other highlights. In the past, being like, I guess historically in my life, whenever I'm going through a hard time, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, like a very hard time, but just in general, and notably, or really any degree of increased difficulty in my life, that usually reflects quite negatively in my journals, and mainly in the sense that I just stop journaling. I find it really hard to want to journal because all my thoughts feel really negative or just clouded in some way. And it's something that when I look back on it, I really regret having allowed for slightly lower moments in my life to stop me from journaling, because then it also affected, or like, I guess, manipulated the good moments, even if they felt smaller than the bad moments. So all of that to say, I've been experiencing some low moments, but I've been really, 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 really trying hard to make that kind of like how do I describe this? To make that the fact that I'm experiencing more low moments, be like a motivator for me to focus even more on the positive moments, and really making my journals about that, but also understanding that it's human to feel down and to have, moments of hardship and whatever. And that's okay. I can still write about those, trying to be as level-headed as possible so that I don't feed into the sadness or into the, whatever the emotion is. I've been really trying to do that, and it has been really working, I think. For example, I've been sticking to my yoga because I find it really helpful. And the yoga teachers always tend to say things that I find very relevant to what I'm dealing with. And a quote was, "That which plagues you is not as powerful as you may fear." And I think that's, an important quote to remind ourselves of all the time. And then there was another one. That quote was said on Monday, and then the other quote on the Wednesday was, "Resistance leads to suffering." And I just felt that was quite applicable to what I've just said, which is there's no point in ignoring that reality that you might be experiencing a bit more low moments, and that resisting those feelings will actually do more harm than good. But in the same vein, making sure that I'm still in tune and still grateful for any moments of joy. Which I guess brings me to this one thing that Michael has gotten me into doing, which I think is so lovely, and that's what this little chickadee sticker here is indicating, and that's giving birds in the park bird feed, their little sunflower seeds. And that has been so therapeutic. I haven't done it that many times, but so far there's something very grounding, I guess would be the most accurate word, about going into nature and helping little animals thrive in their environment. Especially, we had some really rainy days, so you could see how hungry they were, and they just come into your little hand, and they were so active. They were on my head and on my arms, and they're just, nibbling away at their little sunflower seeds. And it just kind of reminds me of the smallness of my perspective and how there's so many other things that are also existing and trying to live beyond me. So it's really helpful. And I wanted to note it there because it was a really lovely evening after work. Then this little sticker of the headphones with music was, I attended a sing-along yoga class on Friday, and it was, quite frankly, my dream Friday activity. It was from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. and we worked out very hard. We were sweating our booties off, but we were singing because it was a sing-along class, and I can't explain to you the level of catharsis I experienced doing yoga poses while singing ABBA and I think it was ABBA, Nina Simone, Lady Gaga, Alanis Morissette, Queen, it was a very eclectic music selection, but it was so wonderful. Like, we were holding planks and singing "We Are the Champions." It was amazing. It was so wonderful. And to have done that, like, 2-in-1 of socializing and, or what feels like socializing, but also having like my daily activity and being done by 6 p.m. What a dream. I love to go to bed early, so truly that's my perfect Friday. Anyway, that was very nice. And then what I haven't written down yet, which is why I wanted to turn the camera on for this, is about my weekend, which is what I wanted to debrief you on. So there's truly so much to say about my weekend that I don't even know where exactly to start. Let me think. Okay, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fill in these little gaps here and then maybe come back to you once that's done, because I think the main thing I want us to do together is to do an entry in my daily pages. And we can do that bit together because it'll give me more space to have more fleshed out thoughts about the weekend, whereas this will just be the summary, but I'll still give you, a description on that. I did want to mention that like I said, I've pre-selected some things that I foresee myself wanting to use, whether in the weeks plus memo or in my pages. So for example, talking about the gold tones, I was thinking of adding some of these borders here. I think that would look really nice. I've also pre-selected some stickers, and I've been using my small sticker release notebook for that. That felt relevant to my weekend activities, so I kind of have those pre-selected right here, which will make it a bit easier for me. And I also have my photos printed and ready to go. I've already selected them, and the whole idea for this is that I know that I can fit 4 photos down the length of the page. So I'm wanting 4, and then on the other side 4. But I want to create like a little door hinge. I kind of have a vision, so let's execute it. But let me just finish this first and I'll come back. Okay, be right back. Okay, ta-da, this is how the page has turned out. I'm pretty pleased with it. We'll get into these, but let's just start it on my diary pages because we're gonna need it. Okay, so like I said, my idea is to do a hinge door, and all that really means, that sticky note is strong. So I just need, I also don't want the photos to be too rigid as this paper is, because these are like the lightweight paper. This is the lightweight paper, which means the paper is really quite thin. So I'm not sure if I want to, because if you peel this very carefully, you can kind of like remove a layer from the backing without damaging the photo. But I don't know if I want to do that, or if I just want to leave them and risk it being a bit thick. Wait, I feel like I had a photo. Here we go. So as you can see, this image, I removed the backing and the photo is still intact, but with the backing, it's like much more thin, much thinner than this. See, it doesn't even have like the support to keep straight. But if I were to glue this, it would make the page, I think, more malleable than if I kept it really thick. Although I've kept them thick in the past and I think it's been okay. The only difference though is, let me find the page that I'm talking See, like this, I left the pages thick, and it does, as you can see, weigh it down. So maybe it would be for the best to cut it. It's quite heavy. Oh, that's so funny. If you don't know, that's from a movie called Baby Girl. I feel like out of context, those images are kind of strange. Let's see. I'm not sure, guys. Either way, what I need to do is create the hinge. So I need the paper to be, let's see how long we need this. Like yay big. I think in the past I've even just done like a half page. Yay! I'm also trying to place them in the order that they happened so that the storytelling aligns with, you know, how the image are lined up. Just because, like I said, it was a loaded weekend. I'm gonna have to try the peeling. I think regardless it's gonna affect the integrity of the page because it's so thin. Okay, I might keep this one just to test it. I do think the tape on this paper affects it in a negative way more than the glue tape. Yeah, I think so. Okay, let's keep it like this. Ooh, one page down, another to go. It takes forever, friends. It doesn't seem like it would take this long, but I feel like it actually really does. When I do these entries, like my weekly entries are really speedy, but these require my brain to think a lot more. Although in my passport notebook, let me unclip it so I can show you. I always have this little notebook that allows me to take notes as things are happening, which sometimes feels a bit more organic. But these pages are slightly perforated, so if I didn't want to transcribe all the information over again, I could just rip these pages out because again, they're perforated so it won't damage the binding of the notebook, and then just tape them on here. I think that's an option I have as well, which is why I'm not overly concerned, again, like I said, with putting in every single detail from this notebook into here. It can be more detailed, more detailed than this little snippet, but perhaps not as detailed or different details from these. These are kind of just things to prompt my memory, or little or quotes and things that I really don't want to forget. I don't know how to describe this. It is just a different feel, a different, different thoughts when you write them as they're happening, as opposed to retroactively looking back on them. But anyway, I think it's kind of, they're each valuable in their own way. Holy smokes, I'm exhausted. Nearly an hour later, I am done. I think my cursive started getting quite wonky towards the end because it is almost 10:30 and it's past my bedtime. Okay, so quick debrief and why I had so much to say about this weekend. As I was mentioning earlier, emotional energy has been a bit lower than usual, which is okay. It's normal, that happens. So I was really banking on having a weekend in nature, okay? I really wanted to get out of town, to make a fire, eat my food on a little propane stove, and feel at peace. So we had booked a campsite at a little island on Vancouver Island. And it, it claimed that it was an ocean view, that it was, in the forest, etc., etc. And we drove out to the city where we take the ferry from, which is like maybe an hour and a half drive. And then we hopped on the ferry, which was another 25-30 minutes. We arrive at the campsite. And once we're shown to our spot, we immediately become a bit confused as to where exactly the ocean view is, because there isn't an ocean view at all, which I think we were gonna look past, even though, if you're claiming that a campsite has an ocean view and then there isn't one, not a great look. But we're the type of people that really won't complain even if we are technically, in our right to. I just don't like doing that. It makes me uncomfortable. So we were like, you know what, we won't say anything, it's fine. But then we realized that there was no fire pit. Again, I don't know what's standard in campsites outside of Canada, but I think it's pretty expected or normal for every campsite to have a fire pit. So when we saw that this one didn't, we were very, very confused, especially because in March it's still chilly to camp, whether in a tent or in a car. So we confirmed, and there indeed was no campsite, and then no ocean view, which was also claimed. And then we weren't told that the showers were coins only. Like, no one carries coins anymore. And I would have, anyway, we're not going to make this video about complaining. What the main reason, genuinely, why I wanted to do this whole entry is because it was a weekend of resilience. It was a weekend of being determined to have a nice time. And that's why I really wanted to make an entire spread. But I needed to give you the context of where we were energy-wise. We were kind of being tested by the universe. So we decided to not stay. We decided, you know what, we're gonna eat it. By eat it, I mean accept that we've spent the money that we have, but this is not the experience we wanted, so we're gonna find an alternative. So we first stopped, this is the first image, to get some fries and some drinks, a drink, to fuel so that we could pop back on the ferry and head back to Vancouver Island. So we did that, and the fries were really delicious, which was, you know, in that moment, if it had been bad fries, I don't know that we could have bounced back. So they were great, and we were actually quite happy, and we did some of the journaling in this notebook, and I think we found it kind of helpful to journal about it because we were able to kind of chuckle at what had happened, even though we were still kind of in the thick of it. And then back in the city that we live in, we went to a little park that has a beautiful view of the ocean and set up our dinner at a picnic table and had our dinner with the view that we were wanting. And it was really lovely. We ate our hot dog, took some deep breaths, collected ourselves, and went home with the intention to chase our dream again in the morning. And then we ended up just going to a place that we always go to car camp, which is actually just like an hour and a half away as well from where we live. And it's kind of a tried and true. So we went there again, and there were some difficulties in finding a spot that, you know, finally met our expectations. And a lovely family was actually leaving the campsite, if you want to call it that. And they had the best spot in the place. And they were like, we're about to leave. Like, do you want to take our spot? And we were so grateful. And we said, yes, please. And they told us that they would keep the fire going so we wouldn't have to start a fire, which is, you know, again, it's like those little wins that just feel like someone like set a flame. What's it called? Like set me, whatever, lit a fire within me. And I was so excited. So we got our dream spot and we made more hot dogs and didn't have just one hot dog, but had 2 hot dogs and enjoyed every bite of it. And I had not 1 s'more, but 2 s'mores, which are pictured over here. They were so delicious and truly the thing I had been looking forward to most. We played Scrabble, sitting in the car because it started spinning, but the view was so lovely. The car kind of frames the view so nicely, and that's Michael playing Scrabble, so sweet. And then in the morning, it's always, you know, so picturesque because you wake up to that beautiful glow over the water, over the trees, and it wasn't too cold, which was really nice. And we made our coffee in the French press and then took that coffee by the water, soaked up the sun. And then we made the most killer breakfast. We made pancakes and bacon and veggie sausages. And we actually couldn't find the spatula that we knew we had packed, but we couldn't find it. So I managed successfully to flip the pancakes with a knife. Hello, talent here. Yeah, and it was really wonderful. And we drove back home with the sun shining down, coming through the windows. We had the windows cracked open so that we could air out the smoky smell in the car, but we felt so at peace because we succeeded and we achieved what we set out to achieve despite the universe testing us. And really, like, we kept looking at each other and being like, I'm proud of you because we persevered. And yeah, I think I just really wanted to highlight that and remind anyone watching that it can be really easy to, I don't know, want to pursue happiness when sometimes it feels easier to kind of sit and dwell on any form of negative emotion. And it does require a lot of hard work, I can't deny, when you're already kind of in a muggy headspace, but it's so worth it and it's so rewarding to stick to it and see it through. Your heart will thank you, your soul will thank you, and your journal will thank you because you'll have a lovely spread to write in afterwards. But yeah, that's kind of a way more thorough description of what I had written in these spots. But that's it. That's what the spread ended up looking like for the week, and then the spread for the weekend. Yay! Okay, friends, I'm going to leave it here. I am tired and I am sleepy. Thank you as always so much for sharing your time with me. I really appreciate it. And I will see you when I see you. Bye! Oh, again, let's not forget.